Welcome, this is Plant Smart Living with Farmer Fred. I'm down here in my basement and I'm going to be sowing indoors in one of these seed trays some Detroit dark red beets. So let's get started here. First of all, I do enjoy sowing seeds indoors. It's fun to plant the seed and then watch them pop their heads up out of the soil maybe after 5 to 10 days, depending on what seeds you're planting. But it's fun to be able to care for them and nurture them up into maturity. You know, it's kind of like how a mother would nurture its little baby. And so, it's a learning curve. Sowing these seeds like anything else, but it's really not that difficult. And my hope is to share some tips and ideas to take your fears away. And so this gardening is not really intimidating. It's really try to follow just some simple basic rules. And but there's a lot of confusion out there today about gardening. Do I use azomite or rock dust, or there's just a lot of different ideas and confusion out there. But anyhow, first of all, too, what I did is I ended up buying a tarp here. It's a 5 foot by 6. It's actually a 3'7" by 5'7" is the finished size. It's a poly tarp. It only cost me $3.50. I bought this at Ace Hardware down the street, and it just makes cleanup a lot easier. So that's always a good place to start. And then what I do is I use one of these seed trays. I got these from a local store like Walmart. You can get them almost anywhere today. So basically, you have your seed tray, and then you want to make sure you have all your material that you're going to use, have them right on hand. I do use a organic seed starting mix, and so it's nice and fine. You really want to make sure that you use a seed starting mix for that. And then what I do is I put it in a Tupperware container, and I just work through it with my hands to make sure all the clumps are broken up. And so a Tupperware container makes it nice and easy to work out of. And then another thing I do in order to water your seedlings once they're in there, your seeds and your seedling once they start growing, is you could take, these are inserts, they hold 6. In fact, I save these year by year, and so what I do is I cut out one corner of these. I snip them out with some scissors, the one corner, and you can see that right there. And then that way I can fill the seed tray through the one corner. Now, of course, there's other ways you could do it. In other ways you could, once your growing medium's there and you have your seeds planted, you could lay a piece of burlap over it and then water it gently over the burlap. That would help keep anything from being washed away. Or if you don't even want to use a burlap, you can just gently water your soil medium, But I like the bottom water. That way it kind of soaks it up from the bottom, doesn't disturb the soils, and it gets all the air out of the growing medium as well. And so what you could also do then is, once you have a hole cut here, is I just have a piece of duct tape that I'm going to put on there temporarily just to keep the growing medium out of there. And then I also have this dome that comes with these kits that I'm going to put on top it'll help hold the moisture in. Or, you could also use like a cling wrap and spread that out over your tray to help keep the moisture in your soil there. And so simply what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just fill this with some of the growing medium. There's a chunk, so you just want to, again, make sure all the chunks are broken up. You don't have to be too neat about this. Put that aside. And then what you want to do is just screed the top of this off. I have a stick right here. First of all, you want to shake it down though. Make sure you get it and shake it down. That way it settles in all the growing medium. And then just simply rake across the top. Screed across and level it. Filling in any holes if there's any holes. There's a big clump, so I'm going to break that up. Give it another shake. Alright, well that's pretty much even now. Clean the edges off. Well, I'm just going to take my 2 fingers and they tell you to sow them about a ½ inch deep, these seeds. And you know, behind these packs too, there's a lot of helpful information that gives you some good general guidelines. For instance, it tells you a planting depth of ½ inch, and you thin to 2 to 4 inches once they come up above the soil, that once they develop their true leaves. Sun and shade. You know, I would plant these in full sun. You know, your red beets, your peppers, your tomatoes, your melons, they all require 6 to 8 hours of sun. So you would want to make sure, you know, at least that amount of sun for those vegetables. You know, your leafy greens, they only require like even partial shade. And then these also tell you 58 days for maturity. And then when to plant outdoors. It says after danger of frost. Now, if you have row covers out there or a greenhouse, certainly you can, you know, back up 3 to 4 weeks, you know, and plant them outside because you'll have a cover over them from the protection of the frost. I live here in Zone 6, Pennsylvania, and our frost date here is May 15th. So what I did too is, you know, last year and years past, I typically direct sow my seed out in the garden. But this year I thought I'm going to do something a little different, so I'm sowing these indoors to give me a little head start. And so all you're simply going to do is just get your fingers and go down each row. Just push my fingers in about a ½ inch. And I'll only take my one other one since these are three across. And then, you know, just try to gently open these packs so you can reseal them. Sometimes they're not the easiest thing to open. And I'm just going to pour about 30 seeds in here because I'll have enough room for 29, 30 minus 1 because I have the duct tape over the one, and I'm just going to drop 1 seed in each hole. As simple as that. Make sure your hole's centered in each area here. And it's always good to overseed just in case some don't come up. It never hurts if you get 2 seeds in there. And so this is going to give me 29 red beets. I'm also going to be direct sowing some outside probably in about 3 weeks. And so I have a few left over in my hand. I'll put them back in the pack. And then simply what you want to do is just take some more out of your container there. Spread it over the top here. And then you're just going to screed it off again. But you can see how handy it is to have a tarp under here. It'll keep easy clean up. So this is ready to be watered. So what I'm going to do now is just pull off this piece of duct tape here. So I have a nice clear opening that I can use this to fill with water. And so what I'll do then is, well, let's water it right now. I'll probably put a good, see, it's just taking it right up, right in there. I would say fill it, you know, at least by 1 inch. and then either put your cling wrap over it or your dome, and keep an eye on it over the next couple days. See if you have a couple hours, there should be moisture developing underneath these domes, telling you that you have enough moisture in there. But you do want to keep your seeds, you definitely want to keep them moist. You don't want your seeds to dry out. And so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to keep my seeds down here in the basement. And once your seeds come up too, you kind of want to keep them cool for a couple weeks. That way they grow slow and steady. You don't really want a real warm environment. And once these seeds come up above the soil, as I said, they pop their heads up. I have a grow light there that I'm going to be putting them in my grow light, under my grow lights, and I'll keep them under there for a good 12 hours a day. I have a timer that goes on 6 in the morning, goes off at 6 at night, and so you want to keep the lights, the fluorescent lights. I'm using 200-watt compact fluorescents. It's something I'm trying new this year. That way it'll flood these new seedlings with plenty of light. You want to provide plenty of light so they're not going to want to reach for the light. If they have to reach for the light, then they become tall and spindly. You want a nice, short, stocky, healthy plant, and so that way you want to provide them with good light. And so these are going to probably take anywhere from 5 to 10 days perhaps to come up. And then once they do that, I'll probably harden them outside for a week and then plant them in my garden. So anyhow, I hope this information's been helpful for you. If you do have any questions or comments, please leave them in the section below. So just want to thank you for joining me today. So until next time, this is Plant Smart Living with Farmer Fred.